And a good off-season Monday, Birds fans. Appreciate you getting your week off with us on Birds 365. You got McMullen and McDonald here to hang with you for 2 hours. A couple of good guests. One a fairly regular contributor, our buddy Jeff Kerr from CBSSports.com, and Russell Baxter, a guy who I've been having on as a guest for over 30 years now from footballguru.com. Is going to hop in early with us today. Johnny Mac, I saw this today and I said, that's what I want to start the show with, because you are the right guy to ask about this. I saw a post on Bleeding Green Nation where our buddies BLG and John Stolnis hang out, and they mentioned the Philadelphia Eagles as villains coming into the season, or, to use a wrestling term, which I know you'll appreciate, as heels. The Philadelphia Eagles in 2023 will be heels in the National Football League. And it reminded me that somebody ran this by me leading up to the Super Bowl. My buddy Brandon Tierney, another one of my ex-partners, that's a growing list. I've been doing it too long, but I got too many ex-partners. Tierney came on my CBS Sports radio show and said, it'll be good this year and going forward with the Eagles as heels. And my first thought was, no, you're wrong. The Eagles aren't heels. They've got Jalen Hurts as their quarterback, one of the most upstanding guys you can look up to, all around good guy, dedicated and everything else. And he said, but that Nick Sirianni's a bit of a heel. He screams into the camera. He goes up into the stands to point at fans in Indianapolis, and he did some heel-like things this year. I give Nick Sirianni that. But you got Jason Kelce, and I think we know here in Philadelphia how great a guy Brandon Graham is, maybe not as nationally as a guy like Kelce. But do you look at the Philadelphia Eagles as heels going into the 2023 season?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're heels. Here's how I describe it. I think you're right. The players aren't heels. The players are generally good guys. The Eagles are heels. The Eagles are always heels because the fan base is a heel to people outside the Delaware Valley. I don't think it has anything to do with the team, the players, the individuals. So if we want to go down the wrestling route, which I always want to go down, Jody.
That's why I wanted to start with
today. It's like John Cena. Well, he's a baby face in theory because he's a good guy, but people don't like him because, they think he's pushed or too much or whatever, and they boo him. They start booing him, and you have this half and half. Look, in the Delaware Valley, they're baby faces. Outside the Delaware Valley, people can't stand the Eagles. And it doesn't have to do with Jalen Hurts, Jason Kelce, or Brandon Graham. That's how I'll describe it. It does maybe a little bit Nick Sirianni. Brandon's right with Nick Sirianni. He rubs people the wrong way outside the Delaware Valley. But for the most part, I hear what you're saying. There's a lot of good guys on this team, and that's the absolute truth. But people do not like I travel all around, and there's a core Eagles group everywhere you go. The team travels well, but they do not like the Philadelphia Eagles, and it has nothing to do with the team, the players on the team generally.
And maybe you got a better grasp of it because, as you correctly point out, you're on the road with the team. You're there for road games. I'm not. I'm just judging it from here in the Delaware Valley. But I can have my own general belief on how I would handle it. If I'm judging whether I do or don't like a team, you root against them generally because they're playing your team. If you're a fan of another team, when any team comes in, they're heels as far as I'm concerned because they're trying to beat my squad. But those 31 other teams comp to each other, taking the team that I'm rooting out of it. I would base it on the players, not the fans of that team. And I would certainly factor the coach in, but I don't know that would be my top priority. I would base it on the play. Maybe that's why I'm having a tough time wrapping my head around this. I just know how I would look at it. And I would look at the players and how they play and how they handle themselves and what they say.
You're a little bit different. Most fans are fans. There's nothing wrong with it. They're a little bit more emotional. and it has to do with things that objectively, how do you not root for Jalen Hurts? A hard worker. We talk about the maturity, work ethic. I don't know anybody in the world who doesn't like Jason Kelsey, other than maybe Jason Babin back in the day, that knucklehead. And Brandon Graham, nobody dislikes unless you can't stand a little trash talk here and there. I mean, that guy's got the best personality. Lane Johnson's a tremendous guy. Up and down the list, there's just a lot of good guys on this particular team. But yeah, I mean, look, I mean, we go back to 2017, and fans love their teams, and I can speak about this closely because I got this. The Eagles destroyed the Vikings in the NFC Championship game. Now, a lot of Vikings fans came and they put the jersey on. That's where the jersey on the statue, the Rocky statue, started. And Eagles fans just never let it go, and they destroyed the team. And meanwhile, the Vikings fans are back to the Packers, And there was this little thing on Twitter where, out of nowhere, they said green. Like when people talk about green in Minnesota, and I lived there for about a decade, they're talking about the Packers. That's their biggest rival by far. I mean, it's not even number 2 is not close. The Bears are, when the Bears are good, they get up there. But number 2 is not close. It's a border rivalry. It's a border battle. A lot of hatred there. Eagles fans thought it was about them. They won't let up. Now you see it with the 49ers. Like the 49ers, in a large part, they got destroyed in the championship game. They don't care about the Eagles the vast majority of the time until they're playing them that particular week. But they, certain players are upset and people latch on to it. Look, you say it all the time. You say it more than me. Nobody likes us and we don't care. Oh, nobody likes us. That part's right. But you care too much. You care too much that nobody likes you. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the team. The Eagles are always a heel outside the Delaware Valley, and it has to do with the fan base.
I hear what you're saying
for this, but let's be honest.
I hear what you're saying, and I'm not here to uber defend Philadelphia Eagle fans. Their reputation is their reputation, and quite honestly, it's been well earned. But that's not how I view a team. Last time I checked, anybody from the Dirty 30 is not going to go out there and play for the Philadelphia Eagles. So really, am I going to base on how I feel about the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, you're not, but a lot of fans do. A lot of fans do. And that's who we're talking about, because that's who makes somebody a babyface or a heel. It's the fans, and they take it any way they want to go with it. And, it's Jerry Seinfeld's got that great laundry joke. You're not rooting for players. You're rooting for laundry as a fan. Doesn't matter. Look at C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Defend him. Leaves. Oh, that asshole. Pretty much. That's how it turns on a coin. I got so much hate for Hey, you know what? The Sixers should move on from Ben Simmons pretty early in the process. This isn't going to work.
Let me see if I can make my point this way. If the Eagles, because of the way that you think people look at them, are the number 1 heel in the NFC, who's number 2?
Oh, the Cowboys are the number 1 heel for the same reason. The Cowboys are the number 1 heel. The Eagles aren't number 1. They're like, which might have been upset Eagles fans more. They might be, again, we'll go back to they're not the main eventer. They're the semi-main eventer. They're in that second category. And maybe they can bubble up if they're going to the Super Bowl or something like that. Now, the Cowboys are, again, you have a group of fans in each city that love the Cowboys. But outside of that group, they despise them. And it has to do with it doesn't have to do with the individual players. It has to do with the fan base. And a lot of them are, the old joke, Cowboys, Yankees, Lakers fan. You got so many of those people. And they're just front runners. And which is ironic because they haven't been running in front very often over the past number of years. But yeah, the Cowboys are the number one heel.
See, I don't agree with that. I think they were, and they were far and away the number one leader in the club. Not even close was the Cowboys, and then everybody else in the NFL. Such a drop off to them being the most hated, but also the most popular with that group of fans, and they got a bigger universal fan base than anybody else. But again, see, that was tied to the team and the success of the team and the fact that they went to as many Super Bowls as they did. I don't think they're near the heel that they used to be because they're just not that good anymore. They haven't been to a Super Bowl in what? Sneaking up on 3 decades. So their heel status is lagged.
It's not the fevered pitch it once was, because as you mentioned, let's be honest, it has to do with both sides of the equation. If you're good, people are jealous. If you're good, and they hate you for that reason. If you're bad, people kind of just scoff and laugh you off. The Cowboys have been pretty good, playoff worthy, but then they lose and everybody enjoys it because they're so popular and they're America's team. And no matter what, we just went through the schedule stuff and they got the most appearances on prime time every stinking year, no matter what, with the notable exception of maybe when they're 1-15 and which is rare, but happened once. Yeah, I mean, they're just, again, there are certain teams, Yankees, Lakers, used to be the Canadians in hockey. I don't know what it is in hockey now. I'm not a hockey guy. And the Dallas Cowboys, Notre Dame at the college level. That's changed a little bit too because they're not as good as they once were. Alabama is to our producers, they're baby faces, but to a lot of people, they're heels. Why? Because they're so good. Georgia, same thing now because they're back-to-back national champions. A lot of people say, Georgia, but the people that love them. But to me, it's always got more to do with the fan base than the actual team because the team is revolving. And that's why I bring up the Jerry Seinfeld joke. The team is always revolving. Eagles fans are going to be Eagles fans no matter what. Doesn't matter. They're ride or die with Jalen Hurts right now. Guess what? Whenever, hopefully Jalen has a successful career and a couple Super Bowls and retires healthy, and they're going to love the next guy. Or they're going to hate the next guy if he doesn't perform. It's laundry. It's laundry.
I get it, but you put much less of an emphasis on the actual quality of the team and the players on the team. An example for me would be the Cleveland Browns. The dog pound was one of the most famous in-stadium make it difficult for the other team. Those who were coming in hated the dog pound and the way they wore their silly masks and threw dog biscuits. Nobody gives a flying F about the dog pound anymore. Why? Because the Browns are irrelevant.
Well, they moved the
They
team
stink on ice. People now pity the Browns more than anything else. So it isn't, for me, determined by the fan base or how they handle themselves or their reputation. If you don't have the team to go with it, you become irrelevant. So how's it?
No, that part
based on the team.
That part I agree with. But if you're saying, all right, from a perspective of an outside fan, all right, these guys treat me like crap for years and years and years, and then they get a good guy, and that's going to change your thoughts of the team. There are certain rivalries. Baltimore, Pittsburgh is probably the best rivalry now in the NFL. It has been. They just hate each other. Those fans are never going to like each other, ever. Now they might
shrink it down to that smaller world. Yes, I can see where just long-standing disdain because of competition between two teams. That's going to overrule everything else.
So it's never going to change. People can like individual players, and there's always going to be, players who. It doesn't happen as much anymore, but we're going to have Russell Baxter on. Back in the days when you had the dirty players, the Conrad Doblers of the world, and the Jack Tatums of the world. Then you could have the real legitimate heel. Draymond Green, I guess, might be the closest. Dennis Rodman back in the day, and basketball. Was a pain in the what to people. Bill Lambier, there's a lot of, because there's basketball players are front and center with no helmets, and you can see their faces, and they're legitimate heels. But they've taken a lot of that out of the game. Andrew Sandejo was here. He was a sort of a heel. With his red hat, make football violent again, and his penalties left and right. John Runyon, our old buddy, who ironically runs the the fine system in the NFL, which is one of the funniest things to me. Yeah, because John was not the nicest player in the world. But those guys are few and far between. Yeah, I mean, people outside the Delaware Valley are never going to like the Eagles. Never. Never. They might like Jalen Hurts. But
part of the reason why I brought this up was nobody was calling the Eagles a villain when Doug Peterson fell apart. And they were 4-11. They were just the Eagles. They were how long ago was that Super Bowl championship? So I think it does ebb and flow more than others. And
if you stink, the hate is not as visceral as if you're good, but it's still there. It's dormant, and it rises up as you become more relevant.
Well, they are certainly going to be relevant this year. That's what you think. That's what I think. Let's get a third opinion on that. And from outside the Delaware Valley, we'll go outside the Delaware Valley to get this opinion. He's been covering the National Football League for decades. It's always been very good to me and come on my show when I've asked him to do so. And we've asked him today. Russell Baxter from Pro Football Guru contributes for Fanside and NFL Spin Zone as well. He's going to jump in with us next. Mac and Mac here with you on Birds 365. Russell Baxter next.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire